trading fuckery as well. Good morning, Pirates, good morning, Pirate Party Australia, members, supporters, and other people tuning in. Welcome to day 2 of the Emergency National Congress, November 2021. A lot of exciting changes so far this weekend. Some things a little bit different as well. As I mentioned yesterday, very rarely do we hold an Emergency National Congress, but it should be noted that this is not an emergency in the sense that things are bad, wrong, horrible, or collapsing full of failure. No, rather there is an emergent situation which we are responding to. The emergent situation is that we decided we needed to hold a National Congress. So here we are. And we've dealt with most of the business so far this weekend already. There was, yesterday we dealt with our constitutional amendments, our policy amendments. We had a formal motion to affiliate with the Electoral Coalition Fusion. And we had a long discussion about strategy and party improvement, the direction of the party. So today we're going to be dealing with the last of the business arising from Congress this weekend, which is of course, the nominations and pre-selections for the Australian federal election 2022, which we're all extremely excited about. So this weekend, today rather, we're going to be hearing about the candidates that Pirate Party Australia is putting forward for this election. First, I'd like to briefly recap on the major business from yesterday, though. We, in reverse order of what went on, we had the obviously strategy discussions where we discussed the new style of campaigning we're going to be employing moving forward based off the experiences we've learned over the last 6 to 12 months. We also heard a lot about the structure of Fusion and the governance and motivations behind Fusion, and there was a lot of interest in that from party members as well. And we're also extremely lucky to have a few Fusion members, or I should say coalition partners from the other parties or branches in Fusion come forward to join us and offer their perspective, and hopefully we'll have a few of them coming in today as well. We also voted and adopted 2 amendments to our policy, one regarding the removal of learning styles from our education policy, which is of course a neuromyth with no scientific evidence backing it. And we also adopted a sovereign wealth fund, a proposal similar to one adopted in Alaska and I believe memory fails me, but I believe it was Finland, where the natural resources of our country should have Norway, thank you, Alex, would have a rate applied to them on the extraction of those national resources, and then those funds should then be paid directly back to the citizens of that country, of this country here in Australia. And the most momentous as well, the formal motion we passed yesterday to formally affiliate with the electoral coalition known as Fusion. We are joining 3 other parties, the Secular Party of Australia, the Science Party of Australia, and Vote Planet Climate Emergency Alliance to work together much more closely for this and coming elections. And we're very excited to have the opportunity to do so. We had our first joint event between some of these parties on Friday night, which we promoted across our social media. We held a talk on climate change, the science behind it, the infrastructure that we want to build, and the technology that we have to address it. Anyone interested in rewatching that video can jump onto our social media, particularly on our Facebook, but also our YouTube to watch that video. So the business for today, we have an agenda item for housekeeping. This is normally to address in-person considerations for when we hold a National Congress in person, which is obviously not happening this time. And so ordinarily that will include items such as the fire evacuation procedures, as well as the location of the toilets and amenities such as the kitchen access and so on and so forth. And so none of that is obviously relevant this year. As I mentioned yesterday, if you have a fire in your home, I cannot assist you. That is on you, buddy. That's all on you. So there is one other item, however, which is that all of us here, or most of us, I should say, are in fact coming from many different parts of Australia. Some of us are quite close geographically, but many of us are quite far apart. But the one consistent geographical factor linking us all in this very, very large and diverse country is that we are on land which was not ceded from First Nations peoples. It was, to use various words, colonized and or taken without permission. So I would encourage anyone interested in that to read up a little bit more about who your local First Nations peoples are. Here in Brisbane, where I am, it is the Yagara Turrbal people. And I've had a number of productive conversations with local First Nations elders around some of the stories and the history there. So we have, I'll give a brief reminder of the standing orders for National Congress. These are, we've already adopted these yesterday. They remain in force and there have been no amendments to them, which we have done some years. Broadly speaking, the standing orders for Congress are mostly around how we conduct the business and how votes are carried out. So all full members have the right to vote and present full motions. To do so, and obviously also have formal comments lodged in the record, to make a motion for any reason you think is important, simply place it into text chat in on your platform choice, Discord, IRC, or Matrix, and place it in all capitals, motion, then put the text of your motion after that. So for example, say someone wanted to take a 5-minute adjournment to go and everyone to go and get coffee, then you would place the motion into chat, capital motion, and then after that you would write that the National Congress adjourns for 5 minutes to do so and so, whatever, to take a break. And then then we would hold discussion around that motion, and then I would formally begin voting. I would formally call for everyone to begin voting. And you to vote, you simply place an aye, nay, or abstain into text chat. So we have a point of order from Party Secretary Alex Jago, which is to point that nominations need to be seconded. And Alex Jago is seconding all the nominations coming up. So the first and only order of business for today is to hear the nominations for candidate pre-selection for the federal election 2022, which we will be going into now. So the way this will work is we will hear the nomination speeches for each of our 4 candidates, and we will hear their seconds, which is Alex Jago formerly, and we will also, and then we'll be going to a vote for members of Congress to formally approve or reject their candidacy on behalf of Pirate Party Australia. There has been no situation in the party's history where a nomination for candidate, or nominee for candidate, I should say, has been formally rejected by the party. So I don't anticipate this will happen this weekend, but obviously it is up to members to decide. So I'd like to invite John August to pop up on stream and say a few words about himself and his nomination for candidacy.
Okay, well, thank you, Miles. I trust you're able to hear me, yes? Oh, I hope so, anyway. Miles, are you able to hear me? I will... Miles, are you able to hear me?
Just checked on stream.
Okay, all right, good. You guys can hear me. All right, yes, so my name's John August. I have been involved in the Pirate Party for quite some time and have stood for the seat of Bennelong and also the Senate on behalf of New South Wales. So that's some things that I've done in the past. And I suppose there's a list of things we're hopefully going to work through. But one of the things is what I've done with Fusion so far. So I have been on the National Congress, and I've sort of watched the stuff progress with Fusion. One of the things I did originally was to reach out to the Secular Party and do the initial communications there. But as far as I can tell, the Secular Party, apart from chucking some rocks at us over our name till it was politely pointed out that we actually got more votes than they did at the last election, apart from that, they've sort of come on board. And yes, I've sort of mostly watched one step removed, as there's been a lot of development with Fusion of how things are going to go, how things are going to happen. And I think I have actually attended 1 or 2 Zoom meetings. So, yeah, so Fusion did seem like the best way of dealing with the situation we're in, one that's been pushed onto us by the government. But, well, you know, you've got to deal with the situation in front of you. So where am I considering running? Well, one option is, again, the seat of Bennelong. Another one is to join a list of Senate candidates for New South Wales. So I've certainly run in the past. I'm less enthusiastic to run this time. I could certainly be a sort of a warm body candidate, as it were, and maybe turn up to a few candidates forums and field a few media requests. But yeah, I mean, within myself, I want to be careful not to get too embroiled in things either internally or externally, because I brace myself for some people who are going to tell me, gee, why are you standing and not taking it seriously? So I remain cautious of these things, and you know, I've seen the way things have unravelled in the past. So, so now, who are you considered running with? Well, obviously, if in Bennelong by myself, and if New South Wales Senate, then obviously with a group of other Fusion candidates. So as far as issues and portfolios that I'm interested in, one of the things that I have taken a recent interest in is universal basic income, but I've also taken quite an interest in foreign policy, and you can see the speech that I put together on that. And not to say that Australia is unique in the world of doing horrible, nasty things in foreign policy, but we've certainly done our share. And I think partially it's a bizarre thing that you just sort of go, wow, that's amazing, all the shit that we've done over the decades. But, you know, there are some people who will perhaps be attracted to that line of thinking. So, yes, you've got universal basic income, and also, I suppose, intellectual property and the right to repair are other things that I've tried to sort of get into in times past. I have actually given a talk on intellectual property to the Sydney Mechanics School of Arts, which is something you can check out if you're interested. And I suppose I've also given a few speeches on various topics that you can check out on the Pirate Party website. But anyway, that's about it from me. So, Miles, I will pass back to you.
Thank you very much, John. So let's go into, if Secretary Alex is approving, we'll go into the nomination votes now. For John August as candidate in New South Wales. You'd like to do it en banc? Okay, we shall do it en banc. Let's go to our next candidate now, Brandon Selleck from Queensland. Brandon, would you like to unmute your audio and take it away?
Good morning.
Brandon has no video.
No, Brandon has no video because Brandon is dealing with a small child as well. So good morning, everybody. My name is Brandon Selleck. I have been a Pirate Party member since 2009, at least. I wasn't one of the founding members of the party, but I joined within, I think, the first 6 to 12 months. I've served as the head of the legal committee. I've served as Queensland state coordinator. I've also served on various campaigns and also run as a candidate in the last 2 federal elections. In relation to Fusion, I have not done as much with Fusion as I would like, simply because this coalition has started during some great upheavals in my life, the birth of my second child, having to move house. So I have not been as involved as I would like. I endorsed the Fusion merger fairly early on. I've been trying to get a coalition of like-minded parties together since before the last federal election, but I personally not much luck with it. But so I'm very pleased that this coalition is happening, and I would like to be more involved now that I will have a bit more stability, notwithstanding small children. In relation to where I would be considering running, I'm running again for the Queensland Senate. I'd be considering running with Roger Watling. He has impressed me with the new vision he wants to bring to the party, and I think he would be an excellent running mate. In relation to issues and portfolios I need to focus on, I'm a lawyer by training, so I'll be looking at... I would be looking at legislative focus. I've also done some work in environment, so I'd be interested in environmental policy and have put some policy in on that in the past. Also, given my current work, Indigenous affairs, First Nations, People's affairs would be something I'd be interested in focusing on. Do you need anything further from me at this point?
I'm pretty happy with that. Thank you very much, Brandon.
Thank you, Miles.
Okay, and we'll be going to a vote to approve as pre-selection after we've heard the other speeches. So next we'll be hearing from Roger Watling, again from Queensland.
Morning, Miles. Morning, all. Yes, so thanks for having me on board and for considering my nomination to be a candidate to represent the Pirate Party going forward. Unlike John and Brandon, I don't have a huge experience within the Pirate Party or in politics in general. I joined the party in 2019 for the last election. which was basically when I started getting interested in politics. It's been pretty evident, and my disappointment has increased over the years of the kinds of representatives we have for Australia and in Parliament and various levels of politics. So I wanted to get involved. Definitely in line with all of the Pirate Party policies. So that's where I was really keen to get involved, and happy to provide my voice in pursuing those policies. So in terms of the other topics that we've talked about, I've been involved with the Fusion merger as part of the National Council since it started being talked about a few months ago. I'm part of the Constitution working group there, where we're talking about the how we align the future constitution for the Fusion Party, so that all the branches are aligned with that. I'm also involved to a lesser degree in the policy working group as well, which along similar lines is looking at how do we align the messaging of our different views on different policies, which surprisingly is not so different. It's just about how do we convey that messaging. Looking forward to running with Brandon. You've just heard from Brandon. He's got some amazing experience within the Pirate Party. So I'll be, assisting him in this election. I think this will be a great partnership. We're both in Queensland, so we'll be going for the Queensland Senate. So it'll be a strong Pirate Party campaign, even though we'll be going forward with the Fusion name. It'll be very Pirate Party focused there. My area is around Longman, but as I said, it'll be a Senate ticket, I think, that we'll be going for. My areas of interest and focus are around environment and climate. So I participated in the live stream on Friday night, along with some of our friends at Science Party and Vote Planet. So that was great, and I'm looking forward to getting more involved in that as time goes on, and also around freedom of culture and civil liberties as well. So they're my focus areas that I'd like to go forward with. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Roger. Now we'll move on to our fourth and the final candidate for pre-selection today, and that is Dave Kennedy from South Australia.
G'day. Yes, I am David Kennedy. I've been a member since around mid-2012. Didn't have too much active involvement for the first few years, but I've been on the National Council for the last couple of years, and occasionally I've helped with some press releases and things like that. So not a huge amount of involvement there recently. I'm considering nominating for the South Australian Senate, just so that we have somebody down here. And if it goes ahead, I'll probably be looking to run with Drew Wolfendale from the Science Party. So we've had a couple of brief discussions, and once I'm better, I'm quite sick at the moment, but once I'm better, we're planning to catch up, because he's also down here in Adelaide. And I think it would be good if we could have a candidate from each party running together, just to sort of cement the Fusion initiative. My only caveat is I'm working under a full-time contract until the middle of next year with Telstra, so my ability to put in too much time campaigning will be limited. I'll be able to take some time off, but not more than a couple of weeks probably. I'm really just put my hand up because we didn't have anyone running down here for South Australia, and I'm happy to throw my hand into the mix, just so we've got some representation. in terms of our policy, I was first attracted to the Pirate Party in regard to our civil and digital liberties, but I've also been quite impressed with some of our tax and economic reforms. Yeah, I haven't had too much involvement with the policy development, but I think we've got some really great stuff. And more recently, the environmental concerns as well. It's not as big of a focus for me, but it's certainly something that that's very important, and it's great that we've got a strong platform with that. So, any specific questions or anything you'd like me to address?
So if anyone has any questions for Dave Kennedy, or indeed if anyone has any questions for any of our candidates, please feel free to put them into text chat, and we can have these candidates answer them. Otherwise, we'll be anyone who wants to reach out to these candidates, your local candidates, please feel free to send in a message to their contact details are available. They've all put up contacts on the nominations page on Wikipedia. Alternatively, you are able to, thank you very much, Roger's just linked it in chat. Alternatively, you're able to reach out to the National Council to get in contact with these candidates. We have a question in chat for, I'm assuming for Dave.
Oh, music. Yes, well, I play guitar. I've got a fairly versatile range of tastes. I suppose one of my favorites is progressive metal, but then also a lot of alternative rock and jazz, a little bit of jazz. So pretty much anything except for country music and rap.
All right, thank you very much, Dave. We might move into the motion now to formally endorse these 4 candidates for pre-selection. Could I have a motion put into text chat? And then we can begin voting. Well, hang on, hold your votes, please. That is, of course, a blank motion. We will not be voting for the null motion. We will not be voting for the null hypothesis. We'll be voting for a motion to endorse the candidates. Please place your votes, aye or nay, into text chat. Or abstain.
It's traditional to put a blank motion in, isn't it?
We'll vote for nothing. I'm not voting for nothing. I'm voting for something. So with the conclusion of this vote, then that will be also the conclusion of all of our scheduled business for Congress today. So I'll be quite happy to hear any motions on the floor from anyone who has any other business they want to discuss. If not, I'll talk a little bit about what's going to happen following Congress. There's going to be a number of votes going out to all members. There'll be an online referendum. And so the way we do Congress is that we have a 2-stage of voting. So all motions presented at Congress have to be passed on the floor of Congress by the attendees of Congress, but then they need to go out to also be passed by a full member vote. Obviously, if the motion fails on the floor of Congress, it does not go out to a full member vote. So what we'll be doing is in the coming 24 to 48 hours, Party Secretary Alex Jago will be sending out the referendum to all members. to do the second stage of voting for the two policy motions, the formal motion to affiliate with Fusion and the constitutional amendments, of which we have two. The one is which is to make us more compliant with New South Wales Fair Trading, and the other motion is to make us capable of affiliating with Fusion. So those votes will go out, and there will also be a vote for the candidates. Assuming this motion passes, which it seems likely to do, then that motion will also go up with all the rest. So in total, there should be six votes. At the same time as well, we'll also be launching our preferencing referendum over the same full party voting mechanism. And what that will look like is there will be a seventh vote going out to all members, and you'll be asked to prioritize the various parties contesting the election, as many as we've been able to research that we reasonably believe are running, to determine the likely preference order for all of those parties. And obviously we would be asking that the parties that we're planning to work most closely with in the election, that you would vote to preference them the most highly. But it is, of course, a member vote. And the members determine which parties we are most likely to support our values and principles. And Alex has just reminded me that the returning officer will be Dr. Liam Pomfret, who will be formally in charge of the process. Excuse me. So we'll be closing that vote shortly. I'm just waiting for that to time out now.
Yeah, it's been 2 minutes. And some.
Okay, would you like to declare the motion passed or failed? Motion is carried unanimously, and all 4 candidates have been put forward. So it's important to note that this is not the end of the pre-selection process, that we are more than capable of nominating additional candidates if anyone else comes forward. We have been calling for candidates for a number of months now, and we're very grateful to have the 4 candidates that have come forward to do so, especially considering 2 of them are first-time candidates for this election, and obviously very grateful for John and Brandon to come back for another tilt at your respective seats, and your experience will be very, very useful. So if anyone else is considering running for election on behalf of the Pirate Party, it is not too late. Please consider putting your name forward, or else reaching out to myself or one of the other candidates here about what's involved and how we can support you and what you need to do. We will support you all every step of the way. We are setting up state campaign teams on a Fusion level. We'll be working very closely with the other political parties in Fusion. We'll be also drawing on their experience and their volunteer base as well to conduct our campaigns, and vice versa. We'll be working together very closely. So it is definitely not we're definitely not abandoning or leaving our candidates alone. You'll be receiving a lot of support. And as I said, our campaigning has also been redesigned this year. We're trying new kinds of campaigns, learning from previous years, and learning from our other Fusion partners as well. So I'll make a final call for any other business that anyone wants to present at Congress. Obviously, this is a mid-year Congress outside of our regular annual ones, so there is less business to conduct this time. Okay, there doesn't seem to be anyone putting forward any other business. So I'd like to, in a moment, I'll ask Alex to place a motion on my behalf to formally close the Emergency National Congress, November 2021. And I'd like to thank everyone who has attended, everyone who has spoken or contributed. The special thanks to Bryn, who has set up the stream and handled the stream mixing for today, and also did a lot of the work for the stream yesterday too. And I'd also like to say I'm very excited for this upcoming election, and they have in a few final closing words as well. There have been a few people have questioned me about why I'm not running this year, and the reason is that I want to take more of a support role to support the other candidates. I obviously ran in 2019 as number 2 on the ticket with Brandon in Queensland. That was an invaluable experience, and I learned a huge amount of things. And so by not running this year, a conscious choice not to run this year, I'll be able to act as in a campaign manager and in a mentoring role for the other members of the party and other candidates in Fusion as well, to ensure that the campaigns have the necessary support and logistical basis they need to succeed. So Alex, if you could please place a motion for me to formally close National Congress. Okay, place your votes in chat. If anyone has any final business, now is the time to vote nay. It's your last chance. Obviously, we will be holding our next annual National Congress in July next year, and that will be most likely shortly after the election concludes. So we will have a lot to say in retrospective about how the election went and what we learned and how we improved on this election as compared to 2019. And I'm pretty eager to see the differences in performance, particularly around the new wealth of resources and experience and volunteers that will be working with more closely in Fusion. This is going to be a very, very different campaign, which is very exciting. And we're also working on a number of other projects as well, which are currently in the works and which we have very high hopes for as part of this election. So that's other groups and parties we're in negotiations with to work more closely with. And looking back at the last few years at a federal government level, I think we're all left dumbfounded after the 2019 election that somehow Bill Shorten could lose the unlosable election, and yet somehow he did. That somehow the Teflon man, Scott Morrison, was able to deflect any and all responsibility as well as any and all blame for the things that have gone wrong, which were the responsibility of the federal government. And yet somehow over the last 3 to 6 months, some of the blame is starting to stick, less of it is starting to slide off. So we can only hope that that in Fusion and in pirate-friendly politics more generally, that we'll be able to make a serious change this election, that we have a stronger chance than ever before of getting one of our candidates elected. And at the very least, we're going to make the other major parties sit up and listen, that even despite their attempts to out-legislate and shut down minor party opposition through the increase in the requirements for member registration, that the Pirate Party is still here and still fighting for our politics, and that so are our other partners in Fusion. The motion is carried to close National Congress. Thank you very much, everyone who's been in attendance, and please check your emails for the votes those votes in the coming days. All right, let's bring the string down.